That's all you get in regards to story from Gunman Clive, and it's all you need. There's your damsel, there's the distress. That's you, that's your gun. Give 'em heck, cowboy. The setup may be as tired as any trope, but here it's indicative of the game's overall disinterest in storytelling. Gunman Clive puts its gameplay first always, so I'll respect that shorthand and just get on with it. I won't disservice the game by dwelling, except to say that if you play as Miss Johnson or Chieftain Bob, the trope is subverted and Clive is our Damon Peril. They both still claim the victor's kiss when all's said and done, though Clive certainly gets more into that lip action with Bob than with the Lady Johnson. So, our quest lay before us, it's time to run and gun in a trek through familiar perils of the Wild West. Bandits galore, perilous chasms, vicious coyotes, ducks, and a train mech? Did I mention the bombing pelicans? Yeah, see, Gunman Clive gets zanier as the game goes along. Halfway through the game, you'll abandon the expected bandit-riddled desert town and its coal mines, moving on to wooded forests and hazard-laden factories before taking a rocket right to the moon. Gunman Clive instills fun and humor with its loose adherence to conventional Western theming. I feel it calls back to the 8 and 16-bit days, when many games could throw any mishmash of enemies and locales without much sense for cohesion. Not that Gunman Clive's world is incoherent, but it's playful in much the same way. So Clive is your classic jump and shoot kind of man, and the classic 2-button setup will serve you well in this action platformer. I'll admit the control is just a bit more buoyant than I'd like. The floaty jump combined with the cushy animation on landing, it makes for a loose game feel. Even if the physics rarely hinder my platforming capability, it never feels as tight as I'd want it to. Quite clever though that Clive's feet shift at the height of his jump to signal the start of his fall. The crouch is also important, whether for combating foes low to the ground, or for ducking under hazards. Those bandits will appear at every turn and from all angles, and the game rewards a quick, precise shot in places and a steady, thoughtful approach elsewhere. But the knockback might be the greatest danger, in tandem with the game's generous share of bottomless pits and instant death spikes. If you've played an action platformer or two in your time, you've probably seen most of the level gimmicks smattered throughout Gunman Clive's 16 platforming stages. It's all about the execution then, and that's where the game shines. The level design excels in its escalation, teaching its mechanics before presenting them in more perilous contexts. With a game you can clear in under half an hour, there's mercifully no downtime. This is a tightly paced adventure. Each level is distinguished by its gimmicks or set pieces, primarily whatever platforming challenges the game deigns to throw at you, along with the requisite enemy fodder. Among my favorites is Stage 6, in which a series of bridges will collapse in parts due to oncoming bombs and barrels. There are several ways to approach this straightforward challenge, whether shooting barrels immediately and allowing others to fall through the newly opened hole, or taking care to avoid every barrel and preserve as much of the bridge as possible. Elsewhere, I will admit I'm always a bit skittish when I see a rotating platform, as the physics are a bit wonky on sharper inclines, and I've too often slipped like my character is coated in melted butter. After reaching the moon, the game plays around with both low gravity for high bounds across the moon's surface, and zones shifting gravity and requiring several thrilling jumps. Beyond the traditional action stages, Clive takes a ride on a minecart to do some rail hopping, and later borrows a rocket to take to space in a classic arcade shoot-'em-up style. They're nice diversions and help sell Gunman Clive's sense of a continuous, linear adventure. Far be it from me, however, to forget the boss encounters. It starts out simple enough, with a bulky bandit and his minigun in tow. Generous timing and some competent jumps will render this one trivial. But then there's that train mech. Easily the most memorable fight, I remember this one being quite the roadblock back when I first played the game. It's creatively animated and the fight is kinetic but fair. Next, an homage to Bionic Commando, of which Gunman Clive's developer helped to work on both the excellent Rearmed and, well, the other one.
Leave me alone!
I think my favorite quirk of this fight is the way the boss is so tall, his standing fire will pass right overhead so long as you don't panic and try and jump. Finally, a shadowy clone of Clive emerges within the moon base, an obvious nod to Shadow Link from Zelda. Rapid fire on the Spectre will keep it at bay, and there's ample room to stay at a safe distance. Down the Doppelganger, and now here's a colossal cowboy mech. The mech can't do much to hit a moving target, and its health will deplete quickly once its hand stops in place and leaves the head vulnerable. With the enemy abated and the day won, quick kiss, the end, back to the title screen. Oh yeah, you can play as a duck! Right, so there are more playable characters. First there's Miss Johnson. If the platforming proves a bit too rough, she's packing that Princess Peach float. More importantly, look at her little waddle! Just look at her go. Chieftain Bob must deal with particular challenges for his lack of a projectile, but the spear benefits from increased damage and it pierces through cover. Finally, there's that duck. This silly Billy gets to waddle and flap their way through every stage save for the bosses, traipsing through the hostile territory unarmed. It's a unique challenge which recontextualizes the level design, though occasionally an area can just prove frustrating for its demanding spacing. I suppose if I'm playing as a defenseless duck in a run-and-gun game, I am liable to become part of the punchline from time to time. Seeing Gunman Clive through to the end isn't all that demanding an undertaking. With infinite lives and stages easily cleared in under 90 seconds, a few power-ups should be plenty to see the adventure to its conclusion. That's no knock against the game, mind you. Gunman Clive is very replayable for it, especially with those additional characters. Not to mention the par times and no damage runs to try for. Gunman Clive shined brightest on the 3DS, with its release coming at the right time to bring waves of attention onto the little gem. Downloadable titles weren't doomed to be buried as with the modern Switch's oversaturated eShop. The 3DS is still my preferred way to replay the game, but considering that Nintendo's cruel indifference to the preservation of its digital platforms saw the 3DS eShop close its doors for good, there are no ways to acquire digital games on the handheld anymore. Legitimately. Thus you're left with the HD port, still a great way to experience Gunman Clive. Either way, that sketchy 2.5D rendering of Clive's world pops, along with the beige hues giving the game the appearance of a yellowed notebook drawing. Animation is fluid and telegraphs incoming threats well. The soundtrack is a memorable mix of moody and evocative tunes befitting the Western setting. They frame the lone gunman's strife quite effectively. Have a listen. Gunman Clive might not leave a strong and enduring impression on a new player, same as it did back when it found its way onto the 3DS. It's a sincere retro throwback, and there's no attention-grabbing gimmick to distinguish it from what inspired it. Still, you're getting a tight package with consistently solid level design and a tidy pacing. I'd say it's absolutely worth it if you crave a classic action platformer with no frills. Gunman Clive may not sport the fanciest of tricks, but he's a sure shot all the same. So, technically, this is a series about Mega Man clones or any game heavily inspired by the Blue Bombers outings. Really, it's an excuse to talk about a slew of fan games and inspired works under this Copy Robot umbrella, but I suppose it would be insincere to neglect to actually discuss those influences on the game in question. Well, first off, Gunman Clive literally began its life as Project GMC. That's Generic Mega Man Clone, a homebrew Wii game which would later have its engine ported elsewhere to evolve into Gunman Clive, with the final name still paying homage to that homebrew experiment. The game is described as taking place in the year of 18XX, a reference to Mega Man's setting in 20XX. The level design apes some gimmicks from classic Mega Man games. There are those dreaded vanishing blocks, this time with actual signposting to tell where they'll appear, making for a more forgiving experience with what may be my least favorite Mega Man trope. In a nod to a Lek-Man stage, electric beams shot from blocks make for a common hazard later into the game. The moon stages toy with gravity much like what was seen in Mega Man 5, with both low gravity enabling higher, floatier bounds, and gravity switching sending you falling up onto the ceiling and then back down again. Then you've the enemies, some of which mimic classic Mega Man foes. The Blue Bombers' influence elsewhere I'm less inclined to assert definitively, but there are certainly echoes of Mega Man throughout. That said, while those direct, surface-level homages are all well and good, more importantly, developer Bertil Horberg embraces much of the bygone design philosophy of the formative 8-bit era of gaming. Gunman Clive prioritizes gameplay with only the barest of story and cutscenes to string the action together. Brevity never betrays the game to feeling incomplete. You can see Clive's adventure through in one sitting, but it puts forth a satisfying challenge in that time. More than its overt references, the game's pacing and focused design evoke those formative gaming days of yore. Hi, my name is Sophie Rose Taylor, and I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to watch my video. Copy Robot is meant to give a warm look at the works of independent creators who derive inspiration from Mega Man's enduring legacy. That'll continue with my discussion on Gunman Clive 2 in the next video. I also write about these games in greater detail, arguably too much detail, on my website, which is linked below, along with my Twitter and the resources utilized for this video. Thank you again, stay hydrated, and have a gentle day.